Welcome back. The Liberals are crushing our energy sector, overwhelming housing and healthcare, and telling us that we're doing fine. How do they justify any of this? Well, let's talk about it. Anthony, maybe we'll pick up where we left off, because my next question is, how do you defend an energy policy that makes life more expensive for everyday Canadians?
So we were talking about, we polled people, how much money would you spend to fight climate change?
Yes.
Less than $10.
Yes, yeah, it's close to my zero. Yes,
less than $10.
Okay.
So, but if you poll the country,
yes,
the numbers are overwhelming for who believes that climate change is a threat to this country, which is why I don't think that throwing the carbon tax out the window is Canadians saying, yeah, we're going to just throw everything out, the baby out with the bathwater. People recognize it's a problem. I think they're looking for more efficient ways that don't hit the pocketbook as much. We did an episode on this on MyGen about output-based systems, which we did agree on.
Yes.
Roll the tape.
No, I agree. No, I've had moments.
We did agree on this.
Yes. Okay? But the thing is, that's about
just for the audience.
But that's about being able to pull economic levers to make up ground for something that costs you money. That's a different thing, though, right? So again, though, how do you defend an energy policy that makes life more expensive for Canadians? Because that's kind of where we are right now, and we all know cheap energy is what makes an economy thrive.
Find me any policy that is meant to do drastic change in the country where there's not sacrifice across the board. That doesn't hurt consumers. It doesn't hurt businesses or anything. The biggest one that came up in '93 was the GST. That was huge. It crushed the Conservatives, murdered them in the polls. The Liberals campaigned on it. That was the original axe the tax, by the way, was Chrétien, my dude, by the way, and we still kept it, which was for the record, for the record, okay? But that decision was good for the country at the time, because we were running huge deficits, we had no revenue coming in, and we had to make up for that lost thing. So I think that getting rid of the consumer-based carbon tax, yes, is going to be plausible with people. It doesn't mean we're throwing out all of our energy commitments or climate change commitments, but I don't want to say that Mark Carney is defending the energy policies of the last 9 years. Yes, he has a green thumb. Everybody knows that. But I think he's shown in his actions, he recognizes the economic state we're in, and he's giving relief to Canadians.
Okay, so ultimately, though, you can't defend a policy that is making life more expensive through our energy programs. That's basically where it is right now. And it's okay. I don't really think there's a good way to defend it. But that's where it sounds
Well, there isn't. But the thing is, the thing that the government did have that I was against was they did rebate the carbon tax back to people and families.
Yes, they
regardless of whether or not it was zero, they were still giving upwards of like $1,300 on average to families across the country. That's average across every province.
Okay, I'm going to jump on because I think that we're sort of on the same page here.
Okay.
They need to change things up. Let's move on.
And they have.
Okay, so immigration, let's just get on to immigration. Okay. Immigration is overwhelming Canada in terms of housing, healthcare systems, et cetera. But I just don't, maybe you can explain this to me, how do they justify bringing in more people when you can't currently house or maintain the people that are already here?
This is where I have no choice but for the audience and respect for the audience to say we made a mistake. There was a big mistake that was made, and I have to say that. It was recognized by the Prime Minister. It was recognized by the former Immigration Minister. I'm sure that's why he was shuffled out of the cabinet, and we have a new person there. Mark Carney, in all of the press conferences I've watched, all of the dialogue I've seen, is committed to capping international students, which we have. Now you're seeing a lot of universities in Ontario screaming and yelling about it. But I can tell you right now,
they're making money hand over fist.
Well, and that's the whole thing. Exactly, and that's the whole thing, because we're basically imperializing young people from third world countries or developing countries to come here and get an education, and they can't afford to live here, which I think is unfair.
Yes.
We made a huge mistake. We capitulated to the business community. We never should have done it that way. I do believe that he is going to reinstate the caps or keep them in. He's not going to change anything in that regard. And I've already seen as a realtor in downtown Toronto, the demand on housing, including rentals primarily, one-bedroom apartments, come down drastically. So we have seen positive impacts on that. Because we can't. Look at the burden it did to our healthcare system. Look at the burden it did to housing. Housing is huge in this country. I will capitulate and admit that it's not even a capitulation, it's just what the fact is. We made a mistake, and I will admit that to the audience and to you. What we need to do as a party now is to explain to Canadians in a comprehensive way how we are not going to allow this to happen again. And I hope that we hear more of that dialogue moving forward in the election.
I do too, because the thing is, they said, hey, we've made some adjustments, except you're still going to let 1 million people in a year. You know, like 10 years ago, we were letting in 250,000 permanent residents. Our non-permanents were stuck around 700,000. Now they're over 3 million. So even reducing it to 1 million, that's untenable. It's got to be back down to the numbers that it was until we catch up. Do you think they're going to get there?
I think we need to have a cost-benefit analysis and use. I know you're politically agnostic, but conservatives can appreciate this. What's the cost-benefit analysis of capping immigration at a certain number? What's the cost-benefit analysis of us getting rid of it altogether and saying, nope, no more people, we're donezo, we have to put a pause on it? I think that will be detrimental to the growth of this country. It has to be done in a comprehensive way and in a way that is practical. We have to have housing, healthcare, and services for these people.
I agree with all those things, but that's actually the right way to do it. Do it objectively, use numbers. Do you actually think the Liberal Party will do that? Because I think it goes too far against a lot of what they stand for.
They're going to have no choice like in 93. This is like the 93 election. We had to do a complete shift change in our party. The unification around balancing the budget, bringing us back into the from the red to the black. I think that's the big budget number, the big budget color that they like. There has to be a unified approach on getting this country back on track financially. And if that's the way to do it, that has to be the commitment.
So you're hopeful that they do, but I still think it's unlikely.
Yeah.
We'll be back in just a minute.